Welcome, everybody, to Everyday Ethics. I am your host, Michael Liebowitz, joined by Persephone. Please remember, we absolutely love super chats, super stickers. We accept them all and are very grateful for them. Um, there's a quote from Ayn Rand that is one of my, if not my absolute favorite quote of all time. Let me just get it so that I can read it to you here. It is, I am
Hi,
not brave
Catherine.
enough. Huh? Oh,
I said hi, Catherine.
I am not brave enough to be a coward. I see the consequences too clearly. Persephone, when you hear that, what does that mean to you?
I can't be a coward. I see the consequences too clearly.
Yes.
Hmm. Um, and to me, it sounds like to me, it means what it sounds like. I can see the consequences, and I know that I have to do what I have to do because I know what the consequences are of not doing it.
If I don't stand up for what I believe in this world, I'm going to lose. Right? If I elevate my momentary fears or emotions of the moment above principle and I don't do what I know to be right, I will lose.
Um,
Things will not work out well for me.
just the fact that you brought up consequences, I want to get your opinion on something.
Okay, I might give them, I might not. I have a hard out today, folks, at 3 o'clock. There's no, I have no wiggle room on this one.
Also,
3 o'clock
please,
Eastern time, so about 28 minutes. Go ahead.
yeah, so 9 o'clock South African time. Um, Lee, how did your kettle get stolen? Okay,
Okay,
here's
let's stay
here's
focused and not get
he-
dragged down into the kettle.
okay, here's what I want your opinion on.
All right.
So I was talking to someone, and I was talking to someone specifically about the war.
Okay.
Okay, two things that I would like to mention. As I was discussing with them, we were talking about the consequences of the war. And he said, he's also South African, and
Okay.
he said that a lot of people in America oppose the war because it's going to be bad for America. But as a non American, that doesn't matter to him. He
Okay.
thinks the war is right because he wants to believe that people will help people. And I said to him, but what about the consequences? What about the consequences of this, not just for America, but for the rest of the world? And
Yep.
he said, well, you can't just choose to not act based on consequences that you don't know are gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, sure, but you make every decision in your life based on what you envision the consequences are going to be. You don't ever make a decision, well, maybe not never, but like you almost never make a decision blindly, right? You make a decision because you estimate that the consequences are either going to be tolerable or in your favor.
Right.
So what do you think of that? I can go into more detail if you want, but
Well, I think that there's a one. There's some people who think that all that matters are the consequences. That you can betray your principles. It's just each situation. What are going to be the consequences? And then you have some folks who say consequences be damned. You tell the truth, even if it means getting a bullet in your head. I remember I was 17 years old, and a gang member in a housing projects pulled a gun on me and asked me if I were in his enemy gang. I wasn't, but I promise you, if I was, I would have said, no, I'm not. So the context matters, principles matter. The reason principles matter is because they help us to predict the long-range consequences of our actions. But when you try to divorce principles from consequences or consequences from principles is when you run into trouble. Because then you start saying, oh, well, maybe this time I can do this heroin, it'll just make me feel good and there will be no bad results. But if you say, I'm just going to stick to principle and I'm never going to take an opiate, well, then your leg get chopped off maybe and you're dying in pain because you're saying, no, the principle here is I'm never going to take an opiate, right? You want principles so that they can guide your long-term behavior. So turn your attention to the war. He says consequences you can't know. Okay, that's true. And it's also true that, if we faced, for instance, immediate annihilation, let's take the absolute extreme, immediate annihilation, or we could go to war and have a 15% chance of success. Well, obviously, we take the 15% chance of success over immediate annihilation. It gets a little bit trickier when you're talking about, well, might we get attacked? Will we get attacked? What's the evidence? How bad would the attack be? Where's it going to be? What is our response going to be? Is our response going to be sufficient? What results are likely to come from that response? Will we be better off? It's not just a matter of saying, oh, we should act even though we don't know what consequences are going to come because we can't know the consequences. I mean, that's just sloppy thinking. That's my take on things.
I mean, I agree with you.
Well, of course you do. I'm wonderful.
You are wonderful. Okay, back to the war.
Back to the war.
This is a personal thing. I'm tired. I'm really I'm you said I can't be a coward because I know the consequences. I can't not be brave because I know the consequences. Whatever.
I got my first great sleep last night in a long time, and then I went back to sleep. I got up at 5:45 this morning. I was up for about an hour and a half, and then back to bed. Oh.
I mean, that's good. I see now that the shows are earlier, I can go to bed earlier, which is great. It means I can sleep better. But that's not what I mean. I mean like I'm emotionally tired from all of this crap that's going on. Like I'm tired. I posted something, have you watched Green Mile?
I saw what you posted. I'm tired, boss, and I immediately felt bad.
Yeah, so I'm so tired. I'm so tired of everything that's happening.
Let me tell you a story. So Brent McCall comes to me and says, Brent and I were working on a book. This is down the rabbit hole. This was not the book that we were working on. We were working on a book that we were going to call Ayn Rand and the Rehabilitation of Criminals because we felt that the lessons that we had learned Ayn Rand played such a big part in facilitating our reformation that we could put it in a book. While we were writing the book, Brent comes to the conclusion, he says, no, we can't write this book because the way the prison system functions, it's irrelevant. We have to put forth something that critiques the prison system and can help make a change there. And I knew where he was going with this, and I was scared to death. I knew that if we wrote this book, because we were going to have to name names, times, and places, otherwise it's just claims from convicts, we needed people to be able to go look at a camera and say, yes, they're telling the truth. So I knew, there's a very real chance I'm going to get hurt from this, from inmates, from staff. I know I'm likely to get split up from Brent, my cellmate and best friend, my cellmate for 11 years, best friend, I think at that point for 16 years. I know what's coming. I also knew Brent was going to do this with or without me, and he's my best friend and he will always stand by me. And I knew that he was right. So I had to make the decision to not be a coward because I see the consequences too clearly. And, I get one of the famous or funniest lines ever out of Brent because I told him I'll do it, but I'm afraid. And Brent thinks he's giving me a pep talk. And he says to me, Michael, the chances that you're going to die from being stabbed are very slim. And I said, what the fuck? I said, are you out of your mind? What do you mean? I said, I'm talking about maybe getting beat up in the hallway. You're telling me if I get stabbed, it's not that big of a deal? The chances you're going to die, I mean, come on. And, but he ultimately was right. So we did it. And there were times it was so exhausting. Like Akira Felix says, I'm tired too. I know we're not supposed to give up, but it's not like I'm making any difference. You never know what kind of difference you're making. And I'm going to tell you a couple things. So Brett and I wrote the book, and I've talked about this before, so I'm not going to get too much into it about, shot down, nobody cared. But eventually people started to pay attention to it a little bit. Later on in life, I find out, after Brent's been transferred, we're separated, that there's a teacher that teaches in the prison. He's a volunteer, and he says he's going to change the focus of his teaching as a result of what he read in our book. I subsequently was talking to a rabbi who said his brother read the book and was absolutely blown away by it. Somebody told me the other day about another book I read that he shares it with people to give them inspiration. You never, ever know what impact you're having. Akira, there's an episode that you referenced the other day that I did with Randy Barnett, and an episode I did with Jim Valiant. I never knew until you told me that those episodes impacted you. How would I ever have known? But the impact was there. The impact was there before you told me. You don't know who it is you're impacting. You don't know. I will tell you this. I've gotten DMs from people you would not suspect telling me they're with me. Now, they don't want to go public, don't want to say it, whatever. That's fine. I respect that. I get it. But they're there, and you don't know how many of them there are. We can make a difference, and we often don't know the difference we're making. And the same goes for you, Lady Persephone.
That's the thing, though. That's the thing. I am tired. I'm so tired. If it wasn't for you and it wasn't for Mark.
Okay, I'm listening.
We're gonna go back to the super chat goal where if we get like $150, he's not allowed to make fun of my accent for like a month. If it wasn't for you and Mark, I would have switched my brain off at this point from all of this that's happening.
Well, that's not a good thing.
No, I know it's not, but I also know myself. I know that we're going to make a swear jar, and every time you mock my accent, we're going to put money in it.
Do you like jelly beans?
I do like jelly beans.
I love jelly beans. And the problem is now my girlfriend has taken to leaving a bag of jelly beans. I told her the jelly beans have to go. I cannot have the jelly beans because I love jelly beans, and I don't want to be stuffing my fat face with jelly beans so that it expands even more than it already is. I'm good. I've gained, I think, 16 pounds since I got out of prison, and I don't want to add to it. Like, let's just be good and not put the jelly beans, hide them, put them away. I don't want to see them. I don't want to know they're there. It's like Odysseus. You remember when Odysseus was going by the sirens and he wanted to hear them, but he tied his hands. He tied himself to the bow. Tie the jelly beans up somewhere.
You know what my favorite jelly bean is? Bertie Bott's, like the Harry Potter, like Bertie Bott's, whatever the ripoff is, the buttered popcorn jelly beans.
They want you to do an American accent. Do the American accent.
I'm not gonna do an American accent.
It's great. She sounds like a Southern belle. It's kind of hot. I mean, if we're gonna be honest.
$50, and I will do an American accent. $50 American. That is the super chat goal for today, and then I will do an American accent tomorrow.
So the problem, Akira Felix and Persephone, is when you give up, you know you've given up. You're sending a message to yourself that you're a quitter. Now, there's times, I'm not saying that you never, ever, ever quit, right? There's times when quitting is appropriate. Okay, Katryn's given us her one of three things. But you don't want to be telling yourself that that's who you are. You just don't.
No.
It's better to fight and lose than to just say, no.
Okay. But is there a flip side to that? Catherine, we lost the second one. We've got one of three and three of three. Is there a flip side?
Is there a
Because
two?
if if if
Eve?
something
Go ahead. We're trying to figure this out here.
okay, so you said if you give up, then you're telling yourself you're a quitter. But
Yeah.
there a point where getting too involved, is there a point where it is actually healthy and in your interest
Of
to step
course it
back?
is. Of course it is. All I'm saying is that to quit because you're saying we're losing and I'm exhausted isn't the right thing to do. If you need to take a step back, do so. If you don't think the fight is a fight worth having, then obviously step away from it. But if it's something that is a high value to you, and you can make strides, you can make impact. To back away because it's too tough, that's not good. To take mental health days, that's great. That's awesome. You need mental health days. It's not great to have to take them. I'm saying, but if you have to take a mental health day, I'm all for that. What I'm saying is quitting because you think you can't win, or because the fight is too tough. That's not the way to go. Hi, Daniel.
So, hi Daniel. The reason I say that is because sometimes people do fall into sort of black and white thinking, you know? Either I'm going to fight until I die or I'm going to quit and give up. But there is a middle ground where you fight as much as you can and you do as much as you can. And if you do need to take a break, then you take a break and then you come back and you fight some more.
Akira Felix, and all you see is what's in public. But it's important. It's important. It's important to me. So that's why I'll do it. I mean, I don't know if look, I know at times I can be too much with the let's debate. I get it. I'm not oblivious to that can be annoying. I know it. But to never debate, to never discuss things, no.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I'd be able to do what you do. I mean, I can help. I can be supportive. I can make AI Michaels to make
Look, I've
um
told this story before. I'll tell it again because it warrants telling. 2019, I'm told I'm transferring out of a prison I'd been in for 18 years, going to a lower level prison. The prison they sent me to was a nightmare. It was filthy. There's mice everywhere. There's birds flying around inside the place. There's mold. There's asbestos. There was a Legionnaires breakout that we multiple times we had to move out of the block I was in because for various things the plumbing breaks. This place is a nightmare. It's a disaster. I wrote an essay. You can probably find it online. The case for closing Osborne Correctional Institution. See if you can find it, Persephone. The case for closing Osborne Correctional Institution. So, anyways, these are open bars as opposed to having a door in a glass or plexiglass window. These are open bars that you can yell through. When you get transferred to a prison, you at the end of this process, when you get there, you feel gross. You went and sat in one dirty bullpen for hours. Then you get on a nasty bus for a while, and you're handcuffed. You're not just handcuffed like this. Your arms are chained, so crossing over. So they're going. The chains are chained behind your back. Your arms are crossed over. Your legs are crossed and chained. They're not crossed, but your legs are chained. Very uncomfortable. You get to the new place. You're exhausted. It's filthy. You want to take a shower. They don't let you. You just want to go to bed. But now you got to unpack all your stuff and put it away. It sucks. And I'm laying on my bed, and guys are just screaming out their doors till 2 a.m., maybe even later. Who knows? I probably finally just fell asleep. And I just thought to myself, there's no fucking way I can do this. I can't handle this. Within a few minutes, it occurred to me, wait a second. That's not true. I can do it. I can handle anything. Why couldn't I handle this? And not only that, but I'm in this new prison. I'm a regular on a radio show. I'm in a new prison that I can critique. I can connect the dots to show this isn't unique to the one place I was in. It's endemic to the whole system. And in fact, the new place made the other place look like a resort. So much so that I got a book called The Death of Punishment by Robert. I can't remember his name. But anyways, the guy said that he actually mentioned these two prisons and mentioned how bad the one I was at is compared to the former one I was in. You're talking no air conditioner in the summer. And that's when I got there. You're cooking. But you know what? I got an episode of the Todd Feinberg show just from that on perseverance, positivity. I can't remember. It was called 3 Words, and we just did a whole interview about it. Then COVID hit, and now I had, all kinds of things to talk about that I could talk about on the radio. So,
so it's Robert Blecker.
Blecker, yeah, that's the name.
So Catherine's post, which we only saw 1 of 3, is I will make a post about Iran and all that on X due to limited space here, but I oppose the USA going into that war, even more so as it's against the Constitution. But in the case of Israel, I'm for it, as Iran is a direct threat to them. I have a good friend in Israel, and of course I try to support him emotionally as far as I can. For me, it's always a balancing act what posts of him I repost, because some of them, even if he is not pro-Trump, cater to the MAGA folks, and I don't want to support that.
Sure.
Yeah.
I get it. But my point is that by getting transferred to Osborne Correctional Institution, as horrible a place as it was, I ultimately got to do things that I wouldn't have been able to do had I been in the other place.
Can I post a link to this on a case for closing?
Yeah.
I'm gonna post it on X, and then you can retweet it. It's interesting.
You can also find my published article, Words Matter, and you can find my published article on juvenile crime if you want. I mean, I'm just saying, I'm not opposed to it.
So, what do you think of the flip side of this, which is another thing that I've been thinking about recently, which is slacktivism?
What?
Slacktivism. So, slacktivism is social media activism. It's where people are activists, and they sort of like this is where virtue signaling comes from, right?
Yeah.
It's where they will post things about like the war going on, but they're not creating any value. They're not assisting in any way. They are just
Yes.
Let me just get the definition of slacktivism.
You go get that definition.
So it's the practice of supporting a political or social cause by means such as social media or online petitions, characterized as involving very little effort or commitment.
Okay. Hence the slack in slacktivism.
Slacktivism. So it's the people who, like, for instance, in South Africa, we had South Africa's got one of the highest rates of gender-based violence, right? So what a lot of people did was they changed their profile picture to a purple square, and this was supposed to be them contributing somehow to the cause of like speaking out against gender-based violence in South Africa. And then they patted themselves on the back and they said, look how well I'm doing. And then anybody who didn't change their profile picture to a purple square that they knew was based in South Africa got like a snotty message, like, why is your profile picture not purple? And it's like, well, because what exactly is that doing for gender-based violence?
Nothing.
Actually, nothing. So what do you think about that? The people who are There's people like you who are trying to make a difference and, giving people facts, doing debates by Nicole. And then there's the people who just post, war is terrible, war is hell, Trump sucks. If you support Trump, unfollow me.
Oh, cute Daba. You see that?
Oh my god, if $50 for the whole show, I'm not that cheap. $200 and I'll speak in an American accent the whole
$50
show.
for the whole show. $50, I'll take my shirt off for the whole show.
Yeah, it would have to be significantly more for me to take my shirt off.
Nice.
Yeah. So what do you think about
fan.
that?
I am not a fan of slacking in any regard. I really don't like people that put opinions out there that they don't understand or are pretending that they're doing more than what they actually are. I mean, that's such an easy thing to do. And to be like, oh, look what I'm doing. You're not doing anything. Like people have told me online, like they say things to me, oh, you're scared of this or some such thing. And I'm just like, dude, like I've risked my life for what I believe in. I don't need to, I have nothing here to prove to you, for God's sake.
Yeah. It's difficult because I feel like some people genuinely think that when they're posting these things that they are making a difference.
It's just another way where people just want the unearned. They want to have an effect without actually risking anything, without putting in any effort. It's really gross.
I agree with you. I generally don't get involved in a cause if it's not something that I'm willing to dedicate a lot of attention to.
Yeah.
It's not something that I will do. Akira, like that's different because you have an Israeli flag as your profile picture, but you also get involved in other ways. And I don't think you're sending snotty messages to people and saying, "Why don't you have an Israeli flag in your profile picture?"
You're right.
So it's different. Like, but you're also the only person who knows how much you can do.
Right. And, there's a
So,
saying, Ben Stein, in his book, 100 Ways to Ruin Your Life, one of them is fight every battle.
yeah.
And I definitely have that problem where I think everything needs to be fought, and it doesn't. There's good reason to pick your battles in life.
I mean, yes. I don't understand. I don't feel the same pull to fight every battle. There's a lot of times when I will be dealing with someone. It especially happens with my business partner. So we will be talking to someone and something will get her like so riled up, like a client is being disrespectful or something, and she will get very riled up about it. And I'll just be like, does it matter in the grand scheme of things if this person did something that's a little bit disrespectful? If you look at all of the context of everything else that's happened, is this worth getting upset about? Not even talking to the client about, but like, is this worth getting riled up about? Is it worth
It's not.
But then again, I do that sometimes. Sometimes I freak out about things and she's like, what are you on about? So
What are you on about?
no one wants me to speak in an American accent. For $50, I'll do it for 5 whole minutes.
No, they said the whole show. You're no.
No, yeah, they said the whole show and they've got
That's
precisely
a half
20
hour. That's a
they've
half
got
hour.
they've got 20 seconds to donate $50.
They've got 20 seconds, and we are out because I have got to go, folks, and it is already 3 o'clock. I'm already over. Thank you so much, everybody, for participating in the conversation today. Really appreciate it. Please keep coming, and we hope to see you here tomorrow at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Until then, be ethical. Thank you.
Bye.